All right, man, peace. So, currently retired former superstar pro boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. was recently stopped in the street by TMZ and confronted with the notion that he is indeed taking the prospective chance of entering the UFC octagon in a serious manner. And, you know, Floyd Mayweather, he perfectly encapsulates the concept of being a slave to fame. I did a video entitled Muhammad Ali's Slave to Fame. And basically the concept of being a slave to fame is that just like anything else, someone who is affluent can become addicted to fame because fame normally has a direct connection to affluence. Contrary to popular opinion, Floyd doesn't fight just for money. Just like Bill Gates, he doesn't make computers anymore just for money. They both view their respective endeavors as a means to an end in perpetuating and or escalating their stardom, which has a direct correlation to their ability to influence others. That's all power is, brothers, is your ability to influence somebody else. At this point, Floyd Mayweather, he's operating on the level of a prime mover or a chess master, along with his advisor, Al Heyman, who basically is like, if Floyd is a Tsar, Al Heyman is Tahuti. But anyway, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
This is SportsCenter right now. I'm Will Reed. Undefeated boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. says he will begin training soon in mixed martial arts as he eyes a potential jump to UFC.
Now, they say that Floyd Mayweather will begin training soon in mixed martial arts. That's a lie. Believe me, Floyd has been training in mixed martial arts most likely for the past year, at least in a rudimentary fashion. Now he's going to try to take it up to another level. Many people will say, well, he's just starting. He's going to be a novice. You have to understand something. Floyd Mayweather is not just a regular person coming off the street who's never thrown a punch in his life or has never engaged in combat in his life. Even though, of course, UFC or mixed martial arts is a different sport from boxing, they are both combat sports. Boxing is a heavy component in mixed martial arts training and fighting. And as Floyd himself says, on a scale of 1 to 10, his hand game is indeed 100. And there will be no fighter in UFC history that even can approximate his hand skills or his footwork. It will be very difficult to take Floyd down. Of course, he is a relative novice in wrestling, but you know how many UFC fighters I've seen who were just training in wrestling or judo or jiu-jitsu for 8-9 months or maybe 2 years and all of a sudden entered an octagon. Floyd Mayweather also, many people don't know this, he suffers from, I guess you could say suffers in quotes, because depending on what you do, this can actually be an aid to you. But Floyd suffers from obsessive compulsive disorder, which is one of the reasons why it was so easy for him to galvanize himself to train so hard, training 7, 8, 9 hours a day. Because he is a perfectionist due to that obsessive compulsive disorder that he has. So believe me, when he does indeed start training in mixed martial arts, he's going to be training 8, 9 hours a day. It's just a new challenge for a person who clearly is bored and is looking for a way to perpetuate or escalate the fame that he already has.
Mayweather told TMZ Sports that he's been in contact with UFC welterweight champ Tyron Woodley and that they plan to work together in the near future. The retired boxer also told TMZ Sports, quote, "I can wrestle. My wrestling game is not that bad. On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 7. And
now, most people will laugh at that. They say, come on, Floyd, a 7 out of 10 in wrestling? But who knows? Like I stated, who knows how long Floyd has been training in mixed martial arts for? He's not the type of guy who's going to tell you when his first day of wrestling or jiu-jitsu training is. He may have been training in wrestling or jiu-jitsu for the last 3 years. Who the hell knows with Floyd Mayweather? Really, the world is his oyster. He can do whatever he wants. He has all the time in the world, and he very easily could have been training in some other form of martial art discipline over the last 2 to 3 years.
A 7, and I think we can take it up to a 9 if possible. Of course, my hand game 1 to 10 is 100.
The funniest thing about that, when he said my hand game 1 to 10 is 100, he had a straight face too.
100. My kicking game on a scale of 1 to 10 is probably a 4.
Unless you're kicking a hood right out of your house, then it's probably like a 9, right, Floyd?
4. First take is 10s across the board right now.
Oh, that was very nice, Will. I appreciate that. So Floyd Mayweather wants to try a little MMA. Stephen A., talk to me.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't believe it for 1 second.
Well, you should believe it, because I definitely believe it. Floyd is not someone to sell wolf tickets he doesn't need to. Pretty much every person that Floyd has ever stated he wanted to fight, he ended up fighting in the way that he wanted to fight them. I stated this in another video. Years ago, right before he got locked up, it was a documentary that Showtime did called, I believe it was called 40 Days in May. And he stated in this documentary that he had a list of guys that he wanted to fight. He stated Manny Pacquiao, and he also stated Andre Berto, and this was back in 2012, before he got locked up. And of course, those were the guys that he fought at the end of his career. A lot of people don't understand. Floyd plans things out 4 or 5 years ahead. He's not someone to just say something willy-nilly. That's not how he operates, and that's not something that will make you as successful as he is, by just doing things spontaneously. In one of the more famous interviews that he had, where he was being interviewed by Brian Kenny, a former sportscaster for ESPN who handled boxing, Floyd told him point blank that I have a list, and he named the guys on the list that he wanted to fight. He named Miguel Cotto. He named Shane Mosley. This was back in 2009. So Floyd already writes down and knows what he wants to do years in advance. So I believe that he's very serious about this.
I don't give a damn about the news reports. I don't care if Floyd called me right now and told me he was serious.
Well, if Floyd texts you or calls you, it's probably going to be like it normally is for him to tell you to kiss his ass.
He changed his mind. He didn't want to get hit when he was boxing. Well, what you going to do in the MMA?
Probably the same thing. Not get hit and probably knock the other guy out, because most of these MMA guys can't box for shit. Anybody who gets in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, they're going to be very, very scared to approach him. They're not going to know how to approach him. The main thing that he's going to have to learn is how to defend takedowns and how to counter certain wrestling moves on the ground, which I'm not poo-pooing is going to be very difficult. But Floyd is the type of person to plunge himself into challenges, and I guarantee you that if and when he does start serious MMA training, he's going to be training 7-8 hours a day. I have no doubt about that.
And oh, by the way, I would ask him to go and watch footage, Max, of Randy Couture when he fought James Toney, who was a light heavyweight champion and was a cruiserweight champion or whatever. What did Randy Couture do before taking him out in a matter of seconds? He sat up there and acted like they was going to fight and then went low.
Took him
got
to the ground
and choked.
Well, in order for you to bring up Randy Couture and James Toney and actually have that example be applicable to Floyd Mayweather, you would have to be able to allege or state with some form of certainty that James Toney was in shape and had trained in mixed martial arts and was taught how to defend takedowns and was not able to execute what he learned in a real fight. James Toney barely trains for his boxing fights. You think he trained for the mixed martial art fight? While Floyd Mayweather, on the other hand, is known for training 5, 6, 7 hours a day for boxing, and mixed martial arts would probably be training that long, if not longer. At least 8, 9 hours a day, knowing him.
I mean, come on now. I mean, this is not what Floyd does. Just stop it. I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. I don't want to hear it. If my man Leonard Ellaby called me, if Floyd Money Mayweather called me, and they told me themselves, we're doing this, I'd be like, what the hell is wrong with y'all? Stop the nonsense. Stop the madness. Stop wasting our time. He has no business even thinking about doing such a thing. One of the greatest fighters to have ever lived, but this is MMA. This is different, where kicks and chokeholds and elbows and wrestling comes into play.
Yes, but you must understand something, Stephen A. Smith. When you're dealing with a person like a Floyd Joy Mayweather Jr., who was a slave to fame, and quite frankly is a slave to the entertainment industry as well. He is a worshiper, a venerator of the Baphomet as well. Yes, he is. Floyd Mayweather is. He pretty much has to do what is needed to keep that machine going, known as the entertainment industry. And people in that industry are not known for riding off into the sunset. I mean, other than Marvin Hagler, who himself went abroad after he felt like he was jobbed in his fight against Ray Leonard, but even he went to Italy and went into the movie industry. Most great athletes, they have a very hard time leaving the limelight. And someone who has been allowed to make as much money as Floyd Mayweather, believe me, he is a slave to the industry, not just a slave to fame. He's a slave to the industry too. They're not going to let him leave without taking out their pound of flesh in one way or another somewhere down the line.
Just stop it. Stop it right now.
Of course, it would be interesting to see, but it's not going to happen. Floyd Mayweather's 40-year-old man going to suddenly, for the first time, start to try to learn the basics of mixed martial arts?
Well, when you say the basics of mixed martial arts, if you're a novice off the street and you've never learned how to fight and you go to learn mixed martial arts, one of the main things that they're going to have to teach you is how to box standing up, because that's how all fights begin in the UFC, in mixed martial arts, and any fight in general. Nobody's going to come at you crawling on the ground. Floyd already has that portion mastered. So I'm not trying to demean or diminish the ground game or the kicking game. Those are essential as well. But please understand that Floyd already has mastered a major portion of the combat arts that would be utilized in MMA, particularly in a UFC fight.
No. And by the way, James Toney, also from Michigan like Floyd, and one of my favorite fighters ever.
Yeah, being from Michigan, being black, and using the shoulder roll is about the only three things that James Toney and Floyd Mayweather have in common. James Toney would barely train for fights. The man would customarily walk into all of his bouts with a big old set of man boobs.
Was so arrogant going in, he basically did not train in MMA at all.
Thank you, sir.
He thought he could just punch his way to a win, and was out in 30 seconds, had to tap out, of course. Look, you know what Floyd is doing here, Stephen A? Floyd is manipulating the media, and he's one of the best ever at it.
Absolutely.
I think about, in my experience, the best ever at manipulating the media, at keeping his name in the media, was Muhammad Ali. And he didn't even do it on purpose all the time. It's just Ali was so big. Madonna was another one from popular culture. Constantly, she's in the news.
Tupac Shakur. That was another person who was very good at manipulating the media, but he also was a pawn anyway. I'll probably be doing a video on Tupac eventually. Tupac was basically a person who got stuck playing a role and could not get out of it, and it ended up costing him his life. And when I say playing a role, yes, he started to play that role after Juice, but he was playing a role his whole life. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get to that video when it comes.
Dennis Rodman talked about this, Stephen A. Dennis Rodman said when he was with the Pistons, he grabbed 17 boards a game, made $800,000 a year. When he was with the Bulls, same 17 boards a game, and by the way, won championships in both places. But now he dyed his hair pink and purple, he had a nose ring and a thing, and he was controversial. $8 million a year instead of $800,000.
Well, yes, that also was part and parcel of him becoming a venerator of Pan, and aka the Baphomet. That's why he linked up with Madonna and started to engage in pansexuality and cross-dressing, which is part of the Bacchanalian rites. So there's a lot to the Dennis Rodman story. Also, he is an operative for the U.S. government, allegedly.
In other words, doing things to keep your name out there pays. And Floyd knows exactly how to keep himself relevant. And here we are talking about him on TV. I have heard, by the way, that there's been a proposed, maybe if by the last round of the fight, which would be a boxing match, Floyd hasn't already won, then it would turn into an MMA fight, meaning Floyd has X numbers of rounds basically to knock his guy out.
I doubt that Floyd would allow that to occur. I think that would be too much of a sham. And I believe that if Floyd is going to take his time in learning the intricacies of mixed martial arts, that he's going to have it be a UFC fight from the opening bell to the end.
Out.
Stephen A., is this a money grab, do you think?
No, it's a fame grab. Floyd doesn't need any money. It's a fame grab for Floyd. If Floyd needed the money, then he would not have stated before the first McGregor fight that I'll fight you again in UFC. He was setting it up in the first fight that he was going to go to the UFC. Mayweather is someone who just needs challenges. When you're dealing with super champions like that, they become addicted to competition. They become addicted to the spotlight, the limelight, the fame, the glitz, the glamour, whatever you want to call it.
Of course it is. I mean, that's the only reason. Listen, everything about Floyd is the money grab. Floyd ain't interested in fighting unless there's money involved. That's why he's Money Mayweather. That's why he's the highest paid fighter in history.
Look, don't get it twisted. Floyd is going to be handsomely compensated for what he does, as he deserves to be, because he generates a tremendous amount of attention and acclaim, which is deserved. But you don't become that great just fighting for money, because when you're doing something just for money, you don't put your heart into it like you should. There's something about what he's doing that he loves, whether it's the competition, whether it's the training, the combat, the fame, the money, or maybe all of those things rolled into one.
Conor McGregor loves this man. Conor McGregor probably already treated him out to dinner, probably threw him a couple of parties and everything like that. This man got Conor McGregor $100 million when Conor McGregor's highest payday was $3 million. But Max, let me say this to you. This is the only thing, the only monkey wrench I would throw into your argument. I don't think for 1 second Floyd is training to be an MMA fighter. I think Floyd would train, the only shot is he would train to fight Conor McGregor. In other words, you fought me at your sport, now in my sport, now I fight you at yours.
Look, that's possible, but I think that Floyd may fight at least one tune-up in UFC to build up some type of credibility. Floyd has, at least as far as we know, no background in wrestling or kicking. At least Conor, they could fabricate a background for him in boxing. So I think that even Floyd himself, assuming that the fight is going to be on the up and up, would like to engage in a couple of tune-up fights first.
We'd make the same amount of money, blah, blah, blah. But I don't even think under those conditions it's something he would do. I certainly don't think it's advisable, because in MMA, Conor McGregor still would would take him out in about a round.
It would less than a round. It would last 30 seconds. A boxer is, because MMA versus boxing, you're playing two different sports. But it's the same reason Conor had no chance in a boxing ring. Who would win, LeBron James or Tom Brady? Well, what do you?
Both these idiots sound like two fools who really don't have any idea what they're talking about. Their analogies, their comparisons have no equivalencies whatsoever. Football and basketball are two separate sports. Boxing and UFC are two separate combat sports. Boxing is part and parcel of the UFC already. So, no, you cannot compare football and basketball to the UFC and boxing. Yes, boxing and UFC are disparate, but they are part and parcel of each other. Even in boxing, there's wrestling involved. It's just that you're not looking to wrestle your opponent into submission. But you have wrestling in boxing. It's called choking. It's called hugging. There are certain strategic wrestling aspects of boxing.
What do you mean would win? Are they playing basketball or football? Oh, Tom Brady's playing LeBron James in basketball? Good luck with that, Tom. So it's the same sort of thing. I will say about your point that they love each other, people have to understand, fighters are also business partners. Whatever animus builds up during a promotion, sometimes it lingers. But like in Floyd's case, he has a mural of Conor McGregor in his house. These guys made $100 million plus together.
They're good. They're good.
Well, just because Floyd has a mural of Conor McGregor in his house does not mean that he particularly likes him. When you go into someone's house, they may have the heads of deers and antelopes and bears on their wall. It doesn't mean that they love those animals. Those are just trophies that act as a testimony to certain things that you conquered. That's why Floyd has a portrait of Conor McGregor in his home, because he conquered Conor. That was a beast that he hunted down and killed.
Good.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor will love Floyd Money Mayweather for life.
I
Trust
do not
me,
want to
he
see
will
changing
never
rules
forget Floyd Mayweather.
like people propose, Max, in that article.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see changing rules either. If you're going to fight UFC, fight UFC.
That's just a mockery altogether. All right, guys, coming up, Tiger Woods.
But anyway, that's it on the Floyd Money Mayweather to the UFC issue. I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen. I hope that Floyd does well for his sake. And if not, that is a sign that it is time for him to hang him up. As I stated in previous videos in regards to world championship boxers, very few of them go out on top. Most of them have to get their ass whooped to know that it's over. And most super athletes, period, have to be embarrassed in their field of endeavor to know that it's over. Michael Jordan needed to play with the Wizards to know I can't do it anymore. So on and so forth. But anyway, peace.